Right, boys, another Premier League preview underway. We're going to review Friday's games, a couple of the matches on Saturday, and we're going to give you some of the picks that we think are going to land. We're going to give you some juicy accas in this one. Follow, like, subscribe. Let's get stuck into it.
That last night, that was literally what dreams were made of. That Premier League game. It was such an enjoyable experience. The Merseyside derby was my favourite moment of Premier League football this season. That goal at the end, it was just so. That's what it's all about. Seeing people like the celebration police saying, and Van Dijk said it after the game, saying it's their cup final. And all this nonsense like Everton have just won the FA Cup, the Premier League, the Champions League all in one night and all this bollocks, right? Let me tell you that those moments are
what it's all about.
They're worth so much more than Liverpool winning a Carling Cup or an FA Cup for me, especially if you're a Liverpool fan from Reading or something. Like, what's that? Like, there's no value in that. You've not like earned it. These Everton fans have earned a bit of joy after all the misery they've had in the last 3 or 4 years.
It was nearly the most Everton thing ever, though. If it had been disallowed, that would have been worse than anything we even predicted. If that had been disallowed, it would have been an absolute travesty.
And I thought Everton were good value for the win as well. I thought they were probably, if anyone deserved to win the game, for the draw, if anyone deserved to win the game, I'd have said Everton did.
And also, I think, so what if it is their cup final? Like, they're not, no disrespect to Everton, they're not competing on fronts to win trophies. So the biggest game of the season is the Liverpool game. And they're a worse team. So getting a result is a really incredible thing. As a fan as well, you know how much that means. Especially more so when, like, you're punching up, I would say. Like, if United got a result against City now, it feels so good. I'm not saying more than an FA Cup, but Everton aren't competing for them. So.
No, it's about bragging rights as well, where like these are proper fans that go to games. They know Liverpool fans that go to games. They know other Liverpool fans. This is the last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park. Whoever wins that game gets the overall record for Goodison Park. There's a lot on the line in terms of bragging rights. If you can't celebrate that, then what can you celebrate?
No. And I feel like it's a lot closer with Liverpool and Everton than other derbies as well. Even United City, obviously United have got fans from all over the world. Obviously Liverpool do, but Liverpool, Everton, the grounds is just across Stanley Park from each other. Everyone's family's almost like split with Reds and Blues. It's like you say, everyone knows each other. They've got a lot of things tying the clubs together. Well, they were one club at one point. So it's such a massive thing for Everton. I was buzzing for them that I really wanted that goal to stand, even though I'd backed Liverpool for the win.
Yeah, no, exactly. I completely agree. And Everton were a bigger club before Liverpool, before it was like Shankly took over Liverpool and basically like, made them successful. Before that, Everton were the bigger club. So the split down the city is like a 50-50, whereas you see with City and United, don't you? City used to have a core group of fans, and United, most other people would support United because obviously they were successful. And this new era of City fans are basically just families whose kids have just got into football and they choose City because they're more successful. Like, I live in Stockport now, and there's way more City fans in Stockport than there is United fans because...
Or Stockport fans.
Well, yeah, or Stockport. Although Stockport, I couldn't say a bad word against them. But this new era of City fans, it's not the same. There's no integration there. These are people from Stockport who are young kids, like I say, they just got into football. They're obviously going to support the City. They're going to buy a Haaland shirt. I think with the Everton thing, it is just... It's salty to police people's celebrations.
Especially mate, it's the last ever game at Goodison Park. That's bigger than a cup final. That doesn't happen once a year. That's like a massive, massive event, and they managed to get a result with a last-minute winner from your captain, a volley like that, thundered into the roof of the net. That was literally from the football gods that I said would rip the rug out from underneath Everton fans. They gave him like the ultimate send-off.
Even in another way as well, even with the whole trophies thing, like you don't win a trophy in your own stadium for a start. You don't have the sort of... You don't have the 50,000 of you and 3,000 of the other team. So it's not like that sort of... And also, you're in this new era where, like, City's B team gets them to the Carling Cup final and then they play the first 11 against Liverpool or United or Arsenal. No one's winning trophies anyway. So it's just, apart from the top four, and like I say, it doesn't mean anything to anyone winning a fucking Carling Cup as a fan of the top six.
Yeah, exactly.
So Let him celebrate, mate. I say.
You'd have, mate, for the last derby, no matter what happened, you'd have the pyro out and stuff for the send off of a historic stadium like that. Anyway, sidetracked. I've stuck on a Prem Aka. See if you can predict my Aka.
Such a EFL. You're such a little top 6 merchant, aren't you?
Yeah.
Your Aka, is it for this? Is it for Saturday?
It's for both, actually. I've involved the Friday game, and it's 3 legs. Shall I tell you which games? Because otherwise it's going to be...
Tell me which games, because I already know the kind of stinkers you put together, so I reckon I'll get it.
Right, I'll tell you what games I'm backing, and you can guess what Aka I've put together. So first game, Brighton against Chelsea. Second game, City, Newcastle. Third game, Villa, Ipswich.
Chelsea to beat Brighton, Cole Palmer to score.
You don't know me at all.
No, it'll be.
Remember that I don't. I remember the double you don't. It's not.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. No, you back Cole Palmer to score the other week, and I thought that's insanity. So I'll go with over 2.5 in this one then. Although you like
that's
a foul,
that's
don't
right.
you?
That was right.
Is it over 2.5?
Yeah, that's that pick. Now
over 2.5 in this one as well.
Yes.
And over 2.5 in this one.
No, it's not. No.
You've gone for Morgan Rogers foul, have you?
No, I'd say don't overthink it. If I'd have seen that, I probably would have done that.
Is it just Villa to win then?
Yeah.
I don't see. I looked at Villa. I looked at that, right, but I preferred Bournemouth to beat Southampton because you get better odds on it. And
South Coast derby.
I always think with Villa,
they're at home. That's the main reason, because they Villa Park last season was an absolute fortress. This season it hasn't been as much, but in the last sort of 10 games it was. Or was it the season before?
No, last season it was a fortress. Yeah, they beat most of the top teams, didn't they? They beat City and Arsenal.
Yeah. But they've kind of gone back to that now, where they get much better results at home. In fact, go on team.
Yeah,
stats.
they do. Yeah, no, I agree. But their home form is really good. But one thing that I would caution is just that, and I think they'll beat Ipswich. I think it's perfectly sound bet. But I just preferred Bournemouth against Southampton because Southampton are worse than Ipswich. Bournemouth are better than Villa this year, I'd say. So
yeah,
that'd be my.
No,
it is away from home, though. I agree. I saw something the other day on
Southampton.
Twitter actually that was really interesting, and it was a guy who runs models basically on the seasons, and this season, home and away has counted for the least in the last 10 years outside of the COVID season. So in other words, normally obviously there's some sort of a team is going to win more games at home than away, but this season out of the past 10 bar the COVID one has had the least difference between home and away. Brighton against Chelsea. This is another one where it's like no scoreline would really surprise me.
Just look at those recent results: 7-0, but then they beat Chelsea in the cup. Well, it's a cup game, but even so, losing to Everton, but destroying United. Chelsea have been similar. Chelsea have had some really wacky results.
Nick Jackson out till the end of March. And I know that people say, and rightly so, that he's a donkey and he's shit at finishing, but he is. He is. Don't sit on the fence here, do we? He is shit at finishing, but whenever they play anybody else other than Nick Jackson up top, they look even worse. Like Nkunku doesn't fit at all. Jackson does the donkey work at least. He puts the effort in, presses, links up the play. He's always in the box. You just can't finish. Whereas Nkunku, God knows where he is when you need him. He's all over the gaff because that's not his position. So I don't have any faith at all in Chelsea. And I don't really have any faith in Brighton. So
no, if it was 4-0 to Chelsea, no surprise. 4-0 to Brighton, no surprise. 4-4, no surprise. 0-0, no surprise. This is one of the hardest games to predict. I would never touch the overall result. And with Nick Jackson out, and the potential differences in the style of play and everything, really, really, really difficult to pick anything for this one. You don't even know if it's going to be an absolute battle of the bridge or battle of the Amex, or if it's just going to be like a dead, passive, shitty 1-0.
I think I don't see it being a big battle. The reason why is because both of these sides. Well, Brighton have got a bit of housery in them. Yeah, Brighton have got a bit of housery in them, haven't they? But Chelsea just a bit. They're just because they're young and they're not like. They've not got those like senior pros. Yeah, they're kind of just a bit of a limp team. Minus, if you took Cole Palmer out of that Chelsea team, they'd just be limp.
Definitely a limp team when they've got Reece James starting.
Yeah,
It
and
was an injury joke.
Brighton, they're just limp in attack anyway. I feel like they just spent all this dough and it's not working at the moment.
How did I never speak to you about this? Do you know what Matoma did his dissertation on?
No what?
Dribbling in football, running at people. How
Really?
fucking sick is that? And how
That is
Brighton is
sick,
that to have
yeah.
their winger? I read it, mate. I
Yeah.
read his. I read the piece like that he
Did
wrote.
you?
He concluded that the best dribblers in the world can have their vision on the ball, but in the peripheral vision, they can see where the opposition player is and what the movements are and stuff. It's so Brighton to have their own winger do a dissertation on football dribbling.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. If you're gonna put your neck on the line for this one,
Oh my god, my neck's
what are you
getting
going
chopped
for?
off. Over 2.5 goals. I have done already.
You're insane, you know. I can't believe that you'd bet on a game like this. I can't believe you put that in your slip. You just said you wouldn't be surprised if it was 0-0.
I know. I'm all over the place. Here's how my brain works, right? When I'm picking for TikTok, I make way worse decisions because it's like it's
Yeah.
not a pressure thing, but I'm forcing it. I go on Numbers Game looking for something to talk about and something to back.
Yeah.
Whereas when we talk about it, and then
Yeah.
like we put together Szoboszlai to score, Liverpool to win, and something or other. But when we unpack it and we talk about the football, and then we use the data to kind of back it up, then that's when I do best. But when I go on Numbers Game looking for something to pick to put in a TikTok, my head goes, because I go, right, there's a game on Friday, I need to pick something from this. What can I see happening in this?
You need to clip that and put that on Instagram, mate. That was absolutely banging.
An apology.
Yeah, an apology with a clickbait title and a thumbnail or something. Fair enough. Well, I understand that, mate, because I do the same thing. But if I look at a game like this for Friday, I just think I'm not even going to bother with it because I can't. I've got no confidence in it. But if I really had to say, you know, Chelsea haven't won a game in the last 5 away from home, and Brighton have won 1 in their last 5 at home, and that was against Chelsea in the FA Cup, where both teams created less than 1 XG.
I need to cash out.
Yeah.
And swap it out, actually. Swap it out for a Bournemouth win at Southampton instead. What are the odds?
Yeah.
Let me see what odds I got. What are the odds on a Bournemouth win at Southampton?
3-5, but also, let me explain my picks for this game to you very quickly. Southampton give the most big chances to a number 9 out of any team in the league by a mile. Visser, when Brentford went a few weeks ago, he had like 7 big chances. When Isak played against Southampton, he had like 4 big chances. Obviously, big chances are shot with more than 0.3 XG. They give all of their chances down the middle to a number 9. And I have Dango Vitara's obviously playing there at the moment, and he scored a hat-trick the other week. He averages 1.2 shots on target. So I just went Dango shot on target, Bournemouth to win, more than 1 goal in the game. That was mine. I think it's about even.
Well, I think what I'm going to do, now we've talked about it and I'm not under pressure, what I'm going to back is over 2.5 in Newcastle against City still. Swap the over 2.5 Brighton Chelsea for Bournemouth to win, because the odds are better as well. And keep my Villa to win in there, which we've not really discussed, but I'm happy to back them as well.
Yeah, if I was you as well, I'd put over 1 goal in this game, Bournemouth against Southampton, because Southampton are terrible at defending and Bournemouth are great at attacking. Look at that.
What about Quattro to score 2 or more?
Watara. Quattro.
Bro, I'm a top 6 pick, so you know that.
I know you are. Tottenham versus United, what do you think?
The
AI's
not even
tried to predict it. Yeah. I mean, United's results aren't even that bad, but they just somehow manage to make you feel miserable, don't they?
Yeah, because the FSCB or whatever that Romanian team were, it was a ground out and then 2-0 win. The Fulham game was the most boring game of football I've ever seen in my life. Rangers was a last-minute winner. Leicester was a last-minute winner that shouldn't have even counted. So
yeah, Southampton, when you beat them, was an Ahmad hat-trick in the last 10 minutes. Huh?
Southampton, that first 70 minutes is potentially the worst I've ever seen United play. Like, I would say the bar for how low United went in terms of entertainment value was under Van Gaal. And that 70 minutes was worse than Van Gaal, I would have said, before Ahmad's hat-trick. And then people forget about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you admit on camera that Big Ange is a fraud yet?
No, I don't. I genuinely don't. Well, it's not. Look, right. I don't think. I'm not saying that Big Ange is the best manager in the Premier League or anything close to that. But from
Well,
my
that's changed already
perspective,
then.
right, Tottenham bounced from Conte, Mourinho playing the most miserable football in the world and not succeeding, playing terribly, had an awful squad. And now they've moved to a manager who plays entertaining football, who's proven that when he's got his full squad, they can perform at a good level. And the squad's decimated by injury, which I'm starting to think now, yeah, he has to take some responsibility for. I saw a graphic the other day where Spurs sprint more than any other team in the Premier League, both in possession and out of possession. So clearly these injuries are partly due to the way that they play football. And partly, I would say, their squad is so thin because Levy hates spending a tenner. But I just think you get rid of him, who'd you bring in? With this squad of players that could get a tune out of them more than Ange. Now, Ange has to start changing, and he has done a little bit. He started playing deeper and had some results doing it. But no, I don't think that I would sack him if I was in charge.
I always hate the argument that who else do you bring in, like if a manager's doing that bad. But in that circumstance, towards the end of the season, no one's going to come in and say salvage Spurs' season. So it's pointless in terms of performance or results. It's just morale, the fan sentiment, all of that sort of stuff. But it is slim pickings at the moment for managers as well.
The one thing that Spurs can't do now, which is what they probably will do, which is what United have been doing as well, is bring in another manager that plays a completely different style, and bring in a manager now who plays 5 at the back or whatever. What they've got is a really good, rapid centre half, 2 fullbacks that can play good attacking football, and then they've got a really good modern number 9 that can press, and other their full midfield can press. So they need a high pressing, high line manager basically. If they can go out and find someone that can play that style, that's better than Ange and can keep the players, injury free better than Ange, then by all means get rid of him and bring that guy in.
Would you have been able to identify Ange before? I know he was at Celtic. I'm not saying he was unknown, but I mean, you'd rather like these clubs, and I'm not saying definitely United aren't capable of this, but I'd like to think Tottenham should be capable of being able to pluck a manager out, like Bournemouth did with Areola. Like a lot of footy nerds already knew Areola and knew that he was going to be an incredible manager. So I'm kind of saying that Spurs should do something like that. Not like I say, I don't think they're going to save the season or anything like that, but just fan sentiment and turning the club around, morale. Like you can't just because of injuries, just they're close to relegation.
Yeah, and also I would say as well, like if you are going to bring in a new manager, you have to do it at a time that's beneficial for the new manager coming in. You don't sack him, and you don't bring in a new manager when the full starting 11 are injured, do you? You bring them in when they've got a decent run of fixtures and some good play. So sacking Ange last week, they'd have had to have waited till players start coming back and they've got some good fixtures to even bring a new guy in.
Give it Mason to the end of the season.
I'm not a big fan of some of the recruitment of Spurs recently. Like I just don't understand it. You look at that Dragusin, they spent 30 million on him. He's a donkey. He's just straight up a donkey. Who else have they signed recently?
Timo Werner.
Yeah, Timo Werner, absolutely stinking, mate. Awful player. Championship player for me. Solanke was a good signing, obviously.
Didn't exactly take an extensive recruitment department to bring in Solanke, though, did it? He
no,
exactly, 20 goals from Bournemouth. So with that in mind, what are we saying for this game? It wouldn't surprise me that much if United convincingly beat them, but that's probably my bias coming through. But I can't see Tottenham convincingly beating United with the injuries they've got at the back. Wouldn't like to bet on it.
In the past, I would have said that this would be a really... this could be a really good game because Tottenham used to go hell for leather, right? And that would give United a chance because United's big problem, as we know, one of their big problems is breaking down a defensive unit. They're just incapable of doing it, right? But they can counter-attack. We know
Thankfully,
that.
Tottenham don't have one.
Yeah. But Tottenham in the last few games have sat deeper.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's didn't help them against Liverpool, but Liverpool are very good at breaking down a low block.
They didn't sit deep against Liverpool. They sat back at home watching on telly, basically.
Yeah. To answer the question, I honestly think it'll be quite a boring game, and I think it'll be like 1-1 or something, or maybe even like a 1-0 to Spurs. I've backed, as I always do, basically, Ugarte to commit a foul, and I also backed Bergvall to commit a foul as well because he's gonna have to play. He's young, he's committing fouls, and I didn't know what else to pick. I also backed both teams to receive a card because the last 5 times that they've played, there's been a bit of needle and quite a lot of cards. So that was basically my
Yeah,
my
that's a
thought
weird one.
process behind it. So yeah, I think it'll be a shit game.
Quality wise, a shit game. Entertainment wise, I think it could be up there. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what? So you're expecting Ange to sit deep in United, just not to be able to really break them down. Then maybe Son scores on the break, something like that.
Something like that, yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
I
don't.
I could see
I
it
think
going
Spurs
that
will
way.
look at United. Spurs will look at this and say, "Give them the ball. We're happy for them to have the ball because they're useless with it." And then I think they'll think we can get at them,
What
which
does
is
the
fair
AI
enough.
think for 2.5 goals? Because from what you're saying, under it could be really good value.
Yeah, the AI will love. Yeah, over 2.5 goals, 65% because it's not factoring in. Spurs have only been playing this defensive style the last 3 games. Before
Yeah,
that, they were still gung ho, weren't they?
yeah. And now they've realised they can't be with these injuries, and Ange will know that
Mm.
United can't break down a low block like that. So
That's my thoughts.
could be
Yeah.
geared up. It depends basically on how much bottle Ange has got. Because yeah, he's being a bit more pragmatic now, but he might go, well, it's United at home. I'm not doing that for them. I'll do it against Liverpool. I'll do it against Aston Villa, but I'm not doing it against United,
Well,
even with these injuries.
the other thing is, Romero and Van de Ven are expected to be back any game now. Don't know if they'll be back for this one. Numbers game thinks that Van de Ven is back. Don't know about Romero. And Van de Ven has been training for like a week now. If Van de Ven is back,
Then
then
they will go
maybe
more gung
Spurs.
ho.
Yeah, exactly. Spurs will go more gung ho. But even then, like, have they really got the players to do that?
Well, they shouldn't,
I
but
suppose.
Mickey Van der Ven does two people's jobs. He's that quick, so he can literally play in that high line and recover. And I feel
Yeah,
like that's
and
why he would go back to gung ho.
the only attacking players that they'll actually be missing would be Solanke and Richarlison, which obviously is then their main number 9 and then the backup number 9. But then they brought in Mateus Tell, who scored obviously in his
What a finish, by the way.
debut, was it?
No, I think it was the second game. The debut was 4-0. Well, his full debut because he started.
Yeah, maybe. If Van der Ven's back, then you might get an exciting game. I just look at this United team though, and I think, where are the goals coming from?
Maguire.
Ahmad's not scored. I know. Ahmad's not scored since his hat trick, has he? He's not scored in the last 5. Bruno is playing too deep now. I wouldn't expect him to do anything.
The problem with
Who are you
Bruno,
relying
we
on?
both hate him playing deep, but there's no one better in that role next to Ugarte.
Yeah, I know.
He's basically
I
the
know.
best player in like 4 different positions. So which one do you
Yeah, he
actually want
is.
to put him in? I would want him in the 10 and Maino deeper, but that's just me. What do I know? I'm not handsome and I don't wear chinos, so
You're gonna have to sign 2 new players to play in those deep positions, unless you can play Ugarte there if you get a ball playing DM next to him. But
well, that's what I thought Mainu could do. That's what I don't understand. He's good on the ball. He's good at progressing it with his carries. Surely Ugarte wins the ball, lays it off to him, and Mainu can be a bit like, maybe cheeky passes between the lines or just carry it. Surely,
but he's a bit
set up to be
slow, isn't he?
perfect for that.
I thought so as well originally, but apparently people seem to think that he plays his best football further forward, don't they? And that he's too slow and not athletic enough to play in a CDM role. This CDM thing, though, for me, this whole number 6 thing now is such a myth because if you actually, there's 2 types of players, right? Rodri, if you take Rodri out of the equation because he's a complete and utter unicorn, and you won't find another Rodri. You could say Busquets, but you're not going to sign him now. There are a handful of players in history that have been able to play the deep line playmaker role, where they've been able to be defensively sound, break up play, and also brilliant on the ball and progressing it. You're never going to find that ever. You're always going to have to make a compromise. If you look at someone like Palhinha at Fulham, he was great at breaking up play. Ugarte is a similar kind of player. And then the one that you put next to them needs to be a ball player, and you're going to have to accept that they might be a bit slow or they might not have the athletic side. And so to say that Maino can't do it because he's unathletic, who's the next guy you're going to bring in? You're not going to have 2 destroyers in there because then when you've got the ball, you've got 2 guys, you can't progress it. So I don't know where you're going to go. You're back round in circles, really.
But I think the trade-off for me, the sort of spike it takes out of the attack by not having Bruno in the 10 is not worth the trade-off of having someone that works a bit harder for deeper.
Completely agree. I think the 10 is the 10 for you is the most important attacking position.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the 9 never touches the ball. I think now, and I'm going to go early on this, but I already think it will never work under Amorim. If you gave him a 200 million war chest this summer, right?
And a data
gave him
department.
200. Yeah, if you gave him 200 million and a data department, I'd say it's probably 50-50 whether it works under him, given the damage that's been done to the confidence of the players and confidence in the system and everything now. He's not going to get that. You're going to be skimping around 20 million, 30 million, 2 or 3 signings.
Or, like I say, they spend 100 million on Goycrest and don't have enough for anyone else. So they give him his striker, and then everyone goes, well, they backed him. They gave him the striker he wanted.
And they signed Leny Yoro and Dorgu. But I just look at it and I think, like, even the Leny Yoro, how much did you pay for him? 50 million, was it?
60.
The last thing you need right now is an 18-year-old centre-back that's not that much better than the other centre-backs that you've got.
Thankfully, we did the same again in January.
Yeah.
Right, let's go on to a different game.
Man City hosting Newcastle United, pick of the weekend, and it's a 3 o'clock kickoff. And you know what? They did the same thing last weekend, in my opinion. Probably the pick of last weekend was Bournemouth at home to Liverpool, and they stuck that on at 3 o'clock as well. It's a piss take, man. You pay £100 a month to watch all this football, and you can't. They put the best games on during the blackout. Get me a dodgy box. If you're watching this, DM me for a dodgy box.
You're going to end up in the pen with the Hesgoal guy.
I'll let you go first, mate. What do you think about this?
Well, I think that Bellingham's 90-plus minute goal would have changed the nature of this game, probably. I would honestly not be opposed to backing Newcastle or draw, not just because Real Madrid scored in the last minute, but because City's players' confidence is shot. They're obviously still without Rodri, and they've just played. So, they're playing midweek when Newcastle haven't had a game. This Newcastle team, on fresh legs, are going to be on smoke. They're weird because they blow really hot and really cold, but they're blowing more hot than cold, Newcastle. And I could see them going in and absolutely turning them over. I wouldn't be that surprised if it was like 3-1 to Newcastle or something.
Mate, I am completely on board with you. I am betting on it. I'm going with Newcastle to beat Man City, Isak to score more than 2 goals in the game. I think it'll be 2 or 3-1 to Newcastle. Because look at what Isak did to Saliba and Gabriel. Absolutely rinsed them. Home and away as well, not just at St. James's Park. He had them both on toast. Akanji got injured the other day. Ake didn't look fit. And Rico Lewis was playing a right back, which looked terrible. And I just think City, like you said, lost confidence, getting turned over again by Real Madrid. Even if it was 2-0 to City after 60 minutes, you'd still think Newcastle are in with a shout, wouldn't you? I'll be having a punt on Newcastle this weekend, I'll tell you that for free.
So he does that, Isak does that against Saliba, who Arsenal fans would have you believe is the best centre-half in the world. He's now up against the Uzbekistani 20-year-old who came on for an absolute stinker.
Well, it'll probably be Ake and Stones, to be fair. But like I said, Ake's hardly fit. Stones, no one expected him to play against Madrid. Can he play 2 games in 4 days or whatever it is? They've not got legs in midfield either. Like, one thing that Newcastle have got more than any other team in the whole of the Premier League is legs in midfield, isn't it? And City don't have legs in midfield. So they've got the best number 9 in the league.
But Bernardo Silva probably play there for that reason, I reckon.
Yeah, but then alongside who? Kovacic.
And Stones.
It's stinky, really, isn't it? Stinks. Newcastle won 5 on the bounce away from home. The only thing that I would say about Newcastle, which puts a dampener on this, is that Anthony Gordon is a doubt. Over 2 goals, Isak to score any time. Newcastle to win is 5.5 to 1. Tenner on it returns 65. It's not even that great, is it? Yes, fellas, thank you for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all that good business. It helps us massively. Peace out.
Yes, this is the best one we've done, mate. We're in the flow now. It's fat.